of Luke going out, John going in, and what happened after that?
I think it was just kind of obviously a very unique situation, but also it's not altogether unique for football. You know, one player in, one player out. Obviously, it's fairly unique for it to be fourth down, backed up and long, and obviously the way John handled it was, you know, just beyond great. You know, I mean, just came in with a great deal of poise and didn't flinch and got the job done in a very special way.
Obviously, we'll ask Brett about Luke's status, but
Yep.
what could that performance for John do if he's called upon this week against Indiana for him and for the team?
Yeah, I think it just reinforces, I think, everything everybody believed and thought about him and had seen even in the limited action that we've seen him this year. Is he's a fearless competitor, very confident in who he is and what he is, and knows how to, you know, you can just see he's just really, really experienced. And even though he didn't start a lot of games, start a full season at Ball State, he carries himself like, you know, he's a 6-year player, and nothing really surprises him and nothing really phases him, and that's how he always practices and prepares. And you know, I think coach is always preaching about those guys. Every game that we go to, every game during pregame we do our ones do like 4 plays. The last thing we do, like on the field, 4 plays, and the twos come up and do their 4 plays. And every single game, John grabs those guys before we run the plays. Says, guys, listen, we're all 1 play away from being called into this game. Be ready. And that's just the mentality that he goes by, and I think our whole team and organization believes in John Patty. I know they do.
Coach, how does it impact game planning and play calling when you have obviously a very limited number of running backs available to you?
Yeah. Last week was kind of unique in that regard, and you know, I thought Thad and just the backs in general. You know, we had a little open date, some time, you know, as well to you know, work some guys into the fold. We looked at some different guys and just kind of had a plan of like, okay, this is best case scenario, here's worst case scenario. You guys saw who we traveled with and who was with us in the game, and you know, all those guys were ready to play. You know, we had a great deal of faith in Fidanzo to be able to play. He's carried the ball a lot in spring practices and knew what he was doing, and then obviously we had Bo back with us, and he had run very well during the open date, brought a lot of energy to the position, and then Ben was the other guy that was kind of our emergency guy. Obviously, that was one of the reasons we had a little small package for Isaiah being in the backfield. We had some other plays ready to go in case something happened to Caden during the course of the game. But it was a unique situation. I thought all those guys handled greatly, and obviously we were fortunate for Caden to be able to play the bulk of the game without any issues, to be able to carry the load at running back for us.
How was Caden changed your offense?
Caden changed the offense. Well, I mean, obviously, I think we, you know, statistically, as a whole, we didn't run the ball as well the other day as we wanted to, but him individually, when you just peel back his numbers and what he meant to us in the running game, that's 3 straight weeks in the Big Ten, 2 on the road, that he's brought a real consistent commodity there, that when you hand the ball, good things happen. And so I think, you know, he just keeps getting better and better, and I don't think there's a coincidence there that, you know, since he's been, you know, since his emergence, that's helped us. I think we're only going to get better as Reggie potentially, you know, gets back and gets healthier, which he's closer to doing, and those other guys have been in the meantime been preparing themselves to be ready to play as well. So, but obviously, you know, I think it's hard to put in words because, you know, I'm stuttering around the answer a little bit to actually quantify that. But I know that you know, since in the last 3 weeks we've played better offensively, and he's a lot of it is because our line is playing better in the run game, and he's running the ball and he's falling forward, he's being physical.
You talked last week about needing to get Isaiah more involved, and obviously as a career day, how were you able to make him the key guy there?
Well, I mean, you know, every week we have special packages and plays for him to get the ball. It's always a challenge because, you know, like the other team knows we're trying to get him the ball as well, you know, and there's just some weeks that unfold differently than others. But it was a really strong priority for us to make sure that he started the game getting the ball and finished the game getting the ball. And, you know, there were some schemes that were involved in that, but also at the end of the game, it was John, you know, like John as well as, you know, was decisive in getting the ball on the 4th down play. And then obviously the last play of the game was designed for him to get through the middle on what we perceived as potentially like a Tampa 2 coverage and getting matched up through the middle of the field. And, you know, sometimes those, you know, players just make things happen, and that's what they did. You know, I mean, just, you know, it probably was the right coverage for us to be in the right call, and then those guys made it happen. And so he had a great day, and And that was a huge impact in the game. He's got to do that down the stretch for us and starting this week.
Quick follow-up, did Isaiah see something there in that last play, or did you?
No, it was really just a standard call. I mean, like one of our 2-minute calls that we did, and one of the things that was cool about it is, during the course of the second quarter, maybe, I forget, the communication we got, like John came over and as we were talking between series was like, hey coach, or Luke, he was telling Luke, hey, every time they do this certain signal that this is going to be the coverage, so some of those things happen during the course of the game, like, okay, when you see the boundary safety do this, John was very tuned into that, hey, this was going to be cover 2 or a version of cover 2, so sure enough, on the last play of the game, the signal, he saw the safety give the signal, he knew what the coverage was. Isaiah's going in motion, he actually, takes his mouthpiece out in the motion and tells John, hey, I'm blowing through the middle here, and they were on the same page, and John slid away. I mean, it was just a beautifully executed play. It's just a normal play, a normal 2-minute play that had options for us to attack whatever the quadrants of the field were, and those guys got it done. So it was pretty cool to see them, that intricate communication.
When you're able to kind of rally around,
Sorry.
sorry, when you're able to kind of finish the game off that way offensively, how much you try to rally around that the last 3 weeks?
I think that's the third time that a second circumstance has risen. I mean, there's been 2 games this year where we've had 4th and got to have it, or if we don't get it, the game's over, and we've risen to the occasion. We make things interesting, that's for sure. And so the one thing about it is our guys are very comfortable in those scenarios. We practice those a lot. We talk about them, about end of game scenarios, end of half scenarios. So I think it just is another thing to reinforce, in our culture what we talk about, and just how we practice, how important those situations are. And so I think an incredible amount of confidence comes from those moments when you're like, when the game's on the line, like, for the next, I think we probably drew on the first game, say, hey, we've been here before, let's don't panic, let's do that. Let's just play within the system, and, hats off to our guys, because those are tough situations to be in, and man, we're finding ways to get it done in crunch moments.
You obviously started the game very, very well, results-wise, but it also seemed like you guys were in rhythm offensively.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about tempo, you weren't exactly in tempo in those first couple of drives, but it just seemed like the guys kind of were in a rhythm. Is that kind of what you're talking about in a sense?
Yeah, that's right. It is a rhythm, and one of the things that continues to show up for us through 10 weeks now is we're very comfortable when we're in a rhythm. We're at our best, and most offenses are like that. Sure. That's not unique to our offense. Like when you're getting first downs and you're not having to play first, second, third. When you skip third down during a series, that's a big thing. You don't want, it's tough playing football first, second, and then third, first, second, and then third, first, second, and then third. Obviously the shorter those thirds are, the more manageable those are, and we're not trying to avoid that, but when you get a first down on a second down or get a first down on a first down, it allows you to jump into rhythm, and our guys are very comfortable playing with pace. And then, there in the third quarter, we kind of got out of rhythm, and so that's the game. The game is about offensive rhythm. I mean, that's what football's about. It's about being in a flow, in a field as a play caller and as an offense. And, our challenge is to try to sustain that rhythm for 4 quarters, because right now we haven't been able to do that. There's moments in quarters where we kind of, disappear a little bit, and a lot of it's from not getting that first down, or that first, the first opportunity to take advantage of getting the chains rolling. We haven't done a good job of that.
What jumps out at you about the Indiana defense on film?
Well, multiplicity. Last week was not like that. It's interesting. Each week's so unique. In our league, it's just like last week was like, okay, here's how they're going to play. This is what they're going to be in. These guys are very, very multiple on the back end and the way they approach things. They try to create a lot of chaos for the quarterback in the way they fit things in the back end. So they play extremely hard. 44 is an excellent player. Very disruptive. I think that's very well documented in his statistical output. It shows up on film. I see a defense that plays really hard and understands their scheme very well, and and so it created a great challenge for us.
There's just one more about the running back situation. What can you take us behind the scenes for you guys as coaches? We've got 2 guys who played defensive back for the better part of however long, and getting them in short order up to speed about what would happen if they went in.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nick had banked a lot of reps and a lot of time with us before moving the linebacker, and so he knew the offense, and he knew the communication about even the signal. So that was a pretty seamless transition. We probably could have taken him you know, a couple of days before the game and got him gained up to speed about what to do. Now the intricate details of the protections and all those things, Thad did a great job getting him up to speed. So that was the first part. You know, it's like, all right, we're gonna take Nick and bring him back over. That was a no-brainer. There's some stability there. Obviously, we didn't find out till later in the week maybe that Reggie wasn't quite ready where he needed to be and wanted to be. And so then it was like, okay, the last couple, we had an open date to work on Boback, you know, to say, all right, we had three different guys that were kind of looking and working with that, and we thought, okay, this guy's a little bit more advanced as far as understanding what's going on. So then you take who can get us out of a game mentality. So then that's where kind of Boback arrived, you know, kind of ascended into that order of saying, all right, he knows what's going on. He's run the ball in the open day. He knows the plays. You know, he knows the signals. So this is our most functional option. And then Ben was kind of the fourth addition to that because of his background. Spent a little background, you know, playing running back in his time, and so he seemed to be a natural fit for us. So it was an interesting conversations. It was interesting few days. I think it's always a reminder that, like, you just don't, you know, every week's different, every day's different. You don't know the injury report, how it's going to, you just got to adapt this time of year, and everybody's dealing with it to some extent across college football at some position. They're thinking, what's my catastrophic plan, you know, for this, that, and the other. Ours just happened to be running back, and we were fortunate to get out of the game in a healthy manner. But our staff and our players, we had full confidence in whether it was going to be Nick or Boback to go in there and execute our plan.
Coach, last year's quarterback played a full game yesterday in the NFL.
Yeah.
Just when you see that, first of all, how did it make you feel? And how much does that help you going forward as well to have that?
Well, I mean, obviously we're all rooting for Tommy. I mean, what he brought to the table last year in his 1 year in Illinois football was tremendous. His leadership and his play last year was, you know, obviously on top of our, you know, our whole team, but obviously the defense, the way they played last year, but Tommy and Chase and the way they carried themselves, and it was just, you know, such a, you know, it was a blessing for us, an organization, to have the way Tommy played, and then now to see him to get a chance to, you know, score a touchdown 2 weeks ago and now throw touchdowns and play in front of his home crowd and home, you know, that's for his home team, you know, it's pretty cool. And it's never a bad thing when you've got one of your own, you know, that's playing, and you see that emblem or that, you know, that graphic associated with Illinois as the quarterback there. I think that's always a good thing. We're always looking for those edges in recruiting, you know, whether it be running back, safeties, like O-linemen, all the guys that are playing in the league, we celebrate those guys. Illinois has had a rich tradition of history there of sending players to the NFL, and we're fully confident in the way we develop them in all ways, academically, socially, you know, and athletically here, that that's a goal of theirs, that they can achieve that right here at the University of Illinois as well as they can anywhere other place in college football.
As silly as this might sound, Barry, but when you guys cover the opening kickoff and now you've got 1st and 10 at the 20,
Yeah.
we talk about script all the time, but does that sudden change kind of immediately go, okay, this isn't what I thought?
I had it scripted. We were
Okay,
ready.
all right.
We were ready. Called the play. We were scripted for it.
All
We
right.
do. That's one of the things we do with coach. You know, it's like sudden change, red area. I've got it on my call sheet. It's very rare that it happens on the first play of the game. You know, you don't
Sure.
expect that, but sudden change, red area. And I looked at it. You know, I scripted that on Friday. The play we ran, it was only like a 2-yard gain. It was really close to being a really large gain, honestly. You know, I looked at my call sheet when we got the ball, and I was like, all right, here we go. You know, we're going to let this thing. I envisioned that being more like in the 2nd or 3rd quarter, you know,
Sure.
and not the first play of the game, but I stuck with it and would do it all over again, and jumped right into our script right there in a sudden change. That's one of the things Coach does a great job of preparing Aaron and I and Robbie for those scenarios that, you know, that way I didn't have to sit there and think, you know, while we're getting the ball, like, okay, all right, well, how do we want to start the game here, you know? And it was very scripted for us. It was pre-scripted, and I went right with it. And same thing for the first 3rd down call in that scenario that we scored a touchdown on. I knew what I was going to call, and we went to it. Our players executed it in a great manner.
How has Luke progressed? You know, obviously led you to a good first half. How has he progressed in the last?
I'm sorry?
How has Luke progressed in the last few weeks?
Well, I mean, I think, you know, obviously his first half was really good. He played a really good first half of football. A little bit of a lull in the 3rd quarter. And, you know, I think I had some things to do with that as well. You know, like we talk about that rhythm, and we never really grabbed that rhythm except that one series in the 3rd quarter, because we're not getting the first down. You know, that's such a critical component. A really poor series right out of half, you know, like 1st, 2nd, strip sack. I mean, that's like really put ourselves in a bad situation. Our team and our defense responded in a terrific way in both of those scenarios, you know. But I think he keeps getting comfortable. He's playing on the road in tough environments. You know, that was a pretty strong environment the other day. I've been really pleased with the way he has progressed. Do I want more from him? Absolutely. It's my job and our job to push him to reach his full potential on a consistent basis. And but he has given us everything he's got. He's really into it, and I really like where he's progressed. You know, I mean, you just look back from the Penn State game on. I think he's played pretty well for us. Hasn't played perfectly, but none of us have. None of us called it perfectly. That's part of football. I've talked about that all the time. You know, I mean, you're going to make mistakes, but I think he's kind of mitigated some of those and is distributing the ball very well. And you know, it's tough. Your first pass of the game the other day was a 3rd and 6 on the road and a goal line, and he threw an absolute strike to Tip, and Tip made a great catch. I mean, that's your. I guess it was a second pass because he threw a little smoke to, you know, to Pat in the boundary, you know. But I've been pleased with the way he's played, and obviously he's going to have to play well again for us to win these Big Ten. Your quarterback has to play well to win Big Ten games in college football, in any college football. But in this division, you got to be spot on at quarterback. Your defenses make you earn everything that you get, and we'll have to play well again this week.
Thanks, guys.